time since I last spoke, and here's it's been well, verbally spoken. I spoke on my Facebook page. And the last thing I spoke about was how the Admiralty, the United States Admiralty, purposely tanked my career, and it was not even such that it was just my career. They also tanked my ability to get a job as a civilian. And now, as we know, it is with Stradvitas and McRaven working in together, and probably a few others. Now, before I go on how they do this, I'd like to finish a story about when I was in Iceland and then in Damnek. In Iceland, I was constantly being harassed, not by my chief, just by Chief Kennedy, which was my chain of command, but the first class, Petty Officer Rule, R-U-Y-L-E, last I checked, the Navy made him a chief, so I wouldn't be surprised if he got out being a Master Chief. This is what it means by critical race or institutionalized bigotry. So I was there. We had one guy who was kind of American. Well, he wasn't considered enough of a threat, so he ended up going to the Naval Academy. And but they always attacked me. And I'm sitting here thinking, what was it so dangerous about me? And it was just a simple fact is that I'm not racist, I'm not a bigot. I really don't care. I don't externalize myself. I am who I am, which means it was difficult for them to do, and then they use this to create their projections. Meanwhile, Bontrager's doing all kinds of crap in the elevators, screwing his girlfriend, getting away with just basic BS. And then he has the cover of Confar, because he's Confar screwing the CO. It was just a big clusterfuck where the monkeys were running the zoo. Then on top of that, it was a bunch of bigots. And then you have another point was I was coaching wrestling, and kid's name's Bo. He won championships, but his mom, she made a pass at me. I politely turned it down, and then she goes to the other coach. And he comes and tells me, because she tells him to tell me to leave her alone. I didn't even react. I just kind of looked at him and went, didn't even say anything. There was nothing to say. So this is the thank you I get for helping your son in his formative years. Yeah, it's, and then you have in this whole situation with the faggots and the gay folks. You don't have a woman, whatever. No, it's because it shows that, what, if a chick's gonna get near me, she's gonna learn how to she has to be able to communicate. It's none of this, you do what I tell you to do, blah, 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 blah. No. I'll be polite, if you need something, I'll help you out, but this BS where this chick's thinking, just waste my time. And then the worst part was, while I was at Iceland, it's the same thing that's going on with McRaven right now, interfering with my private life. When I went to go on my trip, instead of talking to me and asking, hey dude, why don't you, I know you bought your plane ticket a while back, but be cool if you stuck around. I'm like, yeah, there would have been no problems, dude. But they couldn't ask me that. But instead, they go ahead and steal my passport. Seems like these cluster Bs have this thing with stealing people's passport. It's not the first, McRaven steals my passport. My mom stole my passport. I don't know what the fuck's up with these people stealing people's passport. Actually, I do. It's that for self. They try, because right now McRaven and Stradvitas are trying to destroy me, trying to erase me. So was King Charles, and mostly the Queen Consort. So, anyways, continuing on, then they, after at Iceland, putting up with just non-stop harassment, just as I've been doing the last couple of years, several years with McRaven. It shows that this is the behavior of the entire of the entire Admiralty, the entire Navy. This is what they call leadership, which is nothing more than bullying. This is what, and this bullying is what Borba did the Seaman to Admiral for, to create opportunities to put this BS down that, Stradvitas, and it probably was going on before Stradvitas, but McRaven figured out how he could use it. McRaven and Stradvitas figured out how they can use it to make rank. Harass somebody until they break and then move on. They're behind. You don't have to worry about a possible competition, and you can put the person in that you want. Now, this might sound okay, but it's exceptionally illegal because you're using government funds for private uses. It's a different story, of course. The SEALs needed to be trained. And it's something different, like, okay, here's a month, here's a set block of time. Then at the time, the person gets especially if they're doing it, because they guarantee you they've been doing this to other officers or people who think that was their little thing. If a person's too good, well, we'll get rid of them. Under the guise of training, of a training exercise. And since it's all going to be classified as a training exercise for the SEALs, you can't say anything. And if you do know, you have the code, SEALs can't say anything, and it gets buried in the classified archives. And then, meanwhile, Stradvitas and McRaven make rank. And then keep other people from making rank. You get situations like Hammett. And this other dude, Gavin, who's over there, who should have never made it through. So it's not upon their merits. So as this is, so back to, I get to Damnick. And then the first week, I literally asked Rob, because he knew something. Because first off, so they put me where my stuff should be, with everybody else's, they segregate. Once again, if somebody's segregating you, you know that you're being attacked. What has McRaven been doing? Segregating me in my own place. So to me being able to, granted I did keep a distance, I am kind of standoffish kind of person, so I know you. But he was completely segregated me. Every time I go to the gym, I'm being harassed. I go to a freaking coffee shop, some gaslighting harassment. I go any place, harassment. Every place I've been moved to, now they got this pheromone thing, thanks to Rich from Entrepreneurs in Cars. This is a type of little, granted, he made all his money, I get it to him, whatever, but he's a punk ass from my perspective. I've dealt with that type of dude so many times. It's like, and you go, it's like, hey dude, let's do this, and then, well, blah, 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 and then they steal your shit. Yeah, so. And how much money, man makes the money, money doesn't make the man. That's the way I view that, dude. So now, the thing is, especially Gavin, slathers that shit all over the place. It is a bioweapon, as far as I'm concerned. It is constantly, I have not been able to get any fucking sleep. Because it's ripping through my lungs. I got water on my lungs. My thyroids are acting up. And then you have the smell. This is the only thing that they're able to get to me. They tried to disassociate me using metaphysics. Didn't work. Was able to fight that off. They've done every one of their normal tricks. But and even that I've been able to power through, but but you're physically killing me, which means he's a terrorist. Well, once I finish the definition of the terrorist. And the entire team are terrorists. Like for instance, right now I gotta go take care of some things. If I'm gonna see if they do his normal shit, they'll fucking spray that crap in my fucking place again and harass me in a terroristic manner, because it's just harassing me is for political means, political ends, therefore making them terrorists. And, we don't negotiate with terrorists. But continuing on, which would be terrorists being also the King of England, but that doesn't matter to me either. Because the King of England, by terrorizing me, is trying to overthrow the Constitution of the United States. By trying to overthrow the Constitution of the United States, the King of England is breaking all the treaties of NATO and the European Union. And they will say that we will not go physically against Great Britain or whatever, but we have to abide by their laws. And as a dual citizen of the Commonwealth and the United States, as you noticed, McRaven stole that passport, my Jamaican passport, my original entry passport, which I need returned to me, because if you keep allowing people to think they can steal from royalty, they will continue to steal from royalty, and that will put everyone in danger. But King Charles will just say, well, it's just you. It's like, no. Once they think it's like a lion or a dog, once they get the taste of blood, they don't stop. So continuing on within Damneck, I get to Damneck within a week. I literally asked Rob, and the dumbass told me. I'm like, oh, isn't that cute? I get in an argument with him in front of Brian, which is our chief. Like, dude, you don't do anything that doesn't lead back to you. And of course, he gives a non-answer, which is his way of lying. Because if a psychopath or an NPD doesn't answer you, that's how you know that they're lying. That's how they lie. They say they lie by not lying. But mostly by actually externalizing and then making a big mess and a lot of chaos. And meanwhile, they've never admitted to that fact, to whatever they were doing. So they externalize it onto the authority. So I'm sitting there figuring this out. I would usually, if I really needed something, I'd poke Tony Adams. And he was so repressed, he would Freudian slip. Unfortunately, I hadn't gotten him a Freudian slip. I think it did once, but I didn't think of it at the time when the other chief, the senior chief, when I was doing the EO, let him know, like, I don't trust Tony Adams. But I didn't have the full solid information to be able to say, yeah, he was directly part of it, even though I know Callis was, which was the other six. And the CO before Admiral Ossie became captain. So and that CO was given a promotion to Admiral for being a crap person, for setting up and stopping me. Just as Hammond ended up, I guess, becoming an officer and a SEAL, basically mimicking me. And the reason I say he was mimicking me was there was time I'd rode my bicycle, get into shape, and my voice would drop back into its normal baritone, and then his voice would drop into a baritone. Now I noticed that he would always sit there and mimic me. I'm thinking to myself, here you are trying to mimic me, so that's why you got to get rid of me. But I didn't understand the externalization until now, well, at least this few years. So they mimic the person, and and then that's why they do the targeting, they do the reactive, and then they do the exact opposite behavior. So they find somebody who's of good behavior, who's just a really cool, chill person, and then they try to mimic him. But the problem with Rob is he couldn't mimic him. he doesn't have the centered self to be able to do so. And, right now, they've said, oh, you can't get, I know people are making money off of me. They took that money, they gave it to Jay-Z, I want my fucking money. Because you're using my person illegally without my consent. You're using and making capital off of it, and then you're going to try to tell me what I should have? No, I don't think so. That's not how this works. And then at the same time, stealing any ideas I do. This has been 3 frickin' years of them stealing my life. And they're trying to say, well, no. That's not how this is. Either I get my money now, or by the time I'm done suing all of these people, because I'm not doing anything where it's like, well, we set this up for you, and you're going to go do these. No, I'm not. I thank them, some of the people who do what they're doing, but you're not you're interfering with my life, as far as I'm concerned. So, the thing about what happened also after, because I'm also going to go through about what happened at Full Sail. So after I get into, so constantly Rob's harassing me, then they do and then, get moved back out of EOD over to just regular N6. Because the EOD was wondering, well, what's happening when the bottom line was, as I showed because one of the best parts was I had told Scotty, I said, hey, Country needs to go to advanced training, because Country was acting like Country wanted to run EOD, but he didn't want to go to advanced training. Go figure. The way these people operate. So, because everyone realized that if you can, I was the key to gaining control, so they thought. So, anyways, from there, when I went to try to get a job, I go get the job, but before I got out, I noticed that dudes who'd roll out from the N6 couldn't get jobs, and I'm like, okay, this is odd. This doesn't make sense. Coming from here, you should be able to get like a job at especially if you're coming out of a technical field, and they weren't able to get jobs, and I'm like, okay, something's up. So, anyways, when I went to try to get a job, everything was cool, everything was good, and then I started watching these guys. So they libeled my name, so I couldn't get a job. Then they try to send me to another company. Well, you need to take this test. Well, suddenly you don't know what you're doing, and I took the test, but the way you're taught in the military is a little different than if you go through civilian school. So the test was more geared for a civilian school type person. So I did, probably middling on that one, but it wasn't that I didn't know my stuff. It was designed, and they knew that they probably were giving me something that wasn't going to, it was going to disqualify me. And it was done on purpose, because I'm sitting there watching these guys, and I'm watching how they're speaking to each other. I'm watching how they're double talking. Then I'm sitting there when I go to this other company, same thing. Then another time, because I was trying to use a regular job, Bombardier. I'm sitting there just driving the Spiders. The second year that they were being tested, and this one dude, Bart, he was sitting there harassing me, right? And I'm like, dude, everyone knows it, everyone sees it. I was talking to this one girl, And I'm telling her, I'm like, she goes, my mom told me I can't do it, I can't do anything. So my mom told her not to do what was not right, to do what was wrong. So this is how these people get away with it. Instead of people saying, yo, that's wrong, that's not the right thing to do, they get away with it because people are telling them, well, they're white, so you can't say anything. No. And it allows these shitty people, this crap behavior to go on, keep going on, and it lowers overall effective efficiencies. It gets you your toxic work environment. So, continuing on back, so, once again, so 2 different jobs. Now I go to Full Sail. All right, Rob, this is Rob Bernesky, and then you have Ken, whatever his name is. He ended up taking, once this whole thing started, he ended up going to get a master's in branding. So that way, now Full Sail's working, and they can then connect with me, and then, oh yeah, he wants to, no, I will not work with that dude. He will not be on the team, period. Ken DiGilio. But anyways, I will pick who I wish to work with. And I'll meet them directly. And if they start playing their bullshit, because they can only last for a very short time before they start playing their games and I kick them out. But anyways, Rob Kroll, so Candace Acord, started up the internet marketing degree at Full Sail. No one else is doing an internet marketing degree. I was like, okay, cool. And it was online, even better. So you go do the marketing degree, right? One of my projects I stated, because I was dealing with my PTSD, just dealing with I'm used to fighting and being able and having to lose because there was no my career's done. You put it in, and you're not gonna that's gonna show up, and you can pretty much kiss your career goodbye. And I wasn't gonna be where they have this thing. You don't need the Navy. And I'm like, no, I didn't need the Navy. I'm very intelligent. I didn't need the Navy. But then I'm sitting there doing, so then the thing was, so it was a question. I thought that the school was having problems, and they asked, and I came up with a little thing. And the reality was, it was the basis, this acorn seed of Obama's campaign, called it Brandon. Once again, there was another thing with situations, kind of the second time where a big project, the same thing, like this is just as the harassment's always the same, so is always the theft of self. This has happened, once again in Iceland, it happened, Damnik. There was a project, there was a situation, highly classified thing. One of the team leads says, hey, blah, blah, blah. He's going to come up with an idea. I go read a couple books, come back, I go this, and this. If we do this, and this, and this, yada, yada, yada. Hamdi they do it, and then Rob gets the credit. That's such bullshit. It's time and time again. Because they're constantly, look at the constant harassment. So it looks like the reactive behavioral targeting. They're the one creating the problems, and you're the one that looks like you're screwed up. So with that, this is another one, and then so couldn't get a job, get out, and then then I'm dealing with my mom, calling her bullshit, stealing my freaking passport. Right before I had a process system set up, she throws it off. She abuses the trust. My sister-in-law, she sets up a situation. where I, you know, because I wouldn't allow her to abuse my nephew. I saw her about to do the setup, and I went, no. Then turns my sister-in-law, and flying monkeys, my sister-in-law almost gets her neck snapped. And my sister-in-law, my mom, think that they're going to be entitled to whatever. They get nothing. My sister-in-law gets nothing, and neither do her kids. And so they get nothing. And she's depending on Black America, because one of the things I realized in listening to Black Americans, especially Californians, they always end with a negative. They're so negative, always tearing each other down. I was at this place last week. I said, good evening. They go, good. I said, good night. Oh, yeah, good night. Oh, and I'm like, okay, never again. Maintain my my frame. If she doesn't want to deal with good night or good evening, that's their problem. If I say good evening, you'll answer as good evening. This is how Black Americans are. They never lift themselves up. They're constantly pulling and tearing each other down. Black African Americans. And then they wonder why Africans don't like it. Caribbeans don't like it. Because you're violent. Black Americans are violent. They do not know how to get along and work together. And European Americans know this, and they purposely, constantly keep stirring that pot. And they can get away with all kinds of shit as they did to those guys. This is the whole thing that Marjorie Taylor Greene's flipping out on, because she knows how absolutely abhorrent her behavior is. They know how bad their behavior is. All right, so Strickvitas and McRaven. And the way you're going to find this, well, it's going to be difficult to find because everything's on the classified side. But what they did is, because this is too well practiced, is hire out their services under training. You need to harass somebody. You need to do some what is it called? Corporate espionage? Oh, well, we'll just call it training. You know, and since everything's ridiculously classified, you don't have to worry about anyone being able to say anything. It's a heck of a racket. And if it was just a racket, probably get away with it. But they were being mercenaries using American taxpayers' dollars. Now, in the situation with me, what makes it political ends is they're trying to stop me from accepting, formally receiving the dukedom as conferred by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, constantly harassing and terrorizing me for political gain, which their gain is political, which means the presidency or power of other sorts. Terrorist, a person who uses unlawful violence and intimidation, especially against civilians in the pursuit of political aims. The violence, eventually my murder. The intimidation is a constant instigation, constantly harassment. Political aims, to overthrow the Constitution of the United States and the Crown of Great Britain. Who is he working with? The 1%. And since King Charles is an nitwit as far as this is concerned, King Charles. Because it would give him power over Parliament and power over the Lords. So he thinks, which then means he would then be on his way to becoming a tyrant. Which means he would then lose the crown, because Parliament ain't going to have that. Right now, they're trying to keep me from going to Great Britain. Well, two things: from holding Trump to an account, i.e. holding Congress, because they didn't hold Trump to an account. I'm quite sure Kevin McCarthy would love to get rid of some of these people, but he's in a pickle himself because he voted against impeachment. He didn't do his constitutional duty. The other thing is they're constantly, because they're going to try to keep me out of the financial system. Let's see how that goes. I was listening on radio, BBC Times Radio, saying Prince Harry's worried about going to coronation. Technically, I'm supposed to be there. Quite honestly, that'd be great. Just go sit in the back, do the church thing, just sit way, way in the back. But I don't think I'm going to be stuck in the back. You see, right now they're worried about a letter getting to Parliament and formally accepting the dukedom by Her Majesty. 2, I need my capital that they've made all this money off of, which they used to pay Jay-Z. Apparently, must have been hundreds of millions. I want my money back. I went to go buy a car, couldn't buy a car. Went to go, they're doing all these things, and so they're publicly saying, "Oh, I don't know why he's having problems," when they're the one creating all the problems. They're the ones creating the mess of things. Admiral Stavridis and Admiral McRaven, traitors to the United States of America, traitors to the Constitution. By constantly attacking me, they're attacking the Constitution. They believe they're above the law. So when I say Admiral Losey, prepare your team out of respect for the SEALs, you'll give you 24 hours to bring Admiral McRaven and Admiral Vetus to justice. I mean it. NATO, the United States, and Great Britain do not negotiate with terrorists. They have been illegally using government resources for private gain. And they've been doing so for decades. Also, one of those things get a hold of this SEAL named Gavin. He's a little bit zealous. He's a little pissed off that Rob, which I guess is his mentor, because they have the same snotty little personality. And they had the same rhythms too. And when Rob was taken out, he was really, 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 really bothered by that. He made it personal. This is just a business, kid. No. I know you're going to say that and then find a way to be a jerk. No. And this is the thing, is McRaven was keeping different people from getting through and then making it easier for certain type of persons to get through. So, SEALs can't say they're the toughest anymore. It's mass disrespect to those men. I would like to say, oh, you need to be DC, such and such. I can't do that until I get my vehicle. Can't do that until I get a place. I can't do that until I have my money. Can't do that with you still staring at my computer. This isn't fun. This is not a game. It sucks. You know, there's another thing where the fags and Black American women are doing their whole setup, which is their main. This is one of their best people who cluster externalizing personalities do is they'll do all the mess. They'll create all this. The gays psychically attacking. The hermaphrodite demons were attacking and attacking and attacking. Even after I said, yeah, dude, I don't care what you could be, whatever, dude. But bad behavior is bad behavior. This is what I'm about to describe is one of the reasons why MPD is so resilient, because they're always lying. They're always doing the setup, so they never have to face themselves. So right now the setup is, we want to be part of the whole situation, but you gotta, no, I don't gotta do shit. Black women, you are abusive, and I don't like you. You trans and faggots, I don't like you either. I don't like your behavior. Not all gay people are that way, and hopefully not most, but those ones who are acting like children keep adding letters onto the LGBT, whatever the fuck, so that way they can say, we're going to tell you what your gender is. No, you're not. Straight dude says he's straight, you leave him the fuck alone. And if he beats the shit out of you, that's why. Your behavior sucked. You did not respect his boundaries or her boundaries. And then so what the setup is, the psychological setup is, all right, we need you to do this, and then if you come to us and you're being nice to us, and then no. If you show up in Washington, you show up in Washington on your own accord. I don't know you shit. Man, Washington, when did they get, like clothes. I wash my clothes, and they somehow get that crap into my clothes. It's this constant harassment has to end, and more than likely, what Stavidude's going to come in and try to spray in McRaven's team because it's pathological with McRaven, and he needs to be destroyed. He is a traitor to the United States of America. Him and Stavridis are working with the family to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America. They're purposely trying to keep me and keep Black Americans from getting Congress to uphold the constitutional duty of holding the President of the United States to an account. And if they don't do so, to hold Congress to an account for not holding the President to an account. Now, they're going to explain some of them away because they're just good at bullshit, but it's going to be the exact same thing. What they don't say is what's more important than what they do say. You know, the Constitution is out of balance. And now they're once again trying to pull the whole, because they can't have persons like McRaven, because there's a line in Michener's The Source. I always remember communication can only exist amongst equals. If you're a bigot, you don't exist. You can't exist unless you're externalizing. And if your scapegoat is now considered an equal, or actually it's more of an equal, that means from their minds they don't exist. So they're going to continue to do in their BS. They don't have enough self-discipline. They'll probably be able to last about 3 days before they explode. So I got to get going. And the whole situation is this: McRaven, Stavridis, traitors to the United States of America. They're trying to stop me and African Americans from using the Constitution to hold Congress and the former president to an account. This way, leaving open the precedent. The second, what makes it also as a terroristic attack is that they're trying to keep me from accepting my dukedom as a dual citizen of the United States and Great Britain. This would leave Great Britain open to a tyrant king, as it would then break the precedent of the Magna Carta. These are being done on purpose by both McRaven and Stavridis, as well as hoping to try to start World War III, as the former president apparently really want. If he says it out loud, then that's what he wants. Because he understands chaos, and then he sits himself in the middle of it, stirring the pot, just like Rob said he was an instigator, so is Trump. I would like to say in 2 weeks, meet me in Washington, but I won't know until I go get a motor, try to go get a vehicle. It's going to take me, at least minimum a week if I don't make any mistakes in my trading, get enough cash. So I'm looking at 2 weeks just to do that. Then it's another 2 weeks to get to DC. I don't know. And then also, you got May, got to be in London for the coronation. And next month for Star Wars, possibly. We'll see what happens. And you notice Kennedy then, also Kennedy is also a traitor to the Constitution. Just like her and Iger working as a dyad, Iger then has the 1% tank the share price of Disney so we can get rid of Chapek. Kennedy's not going anywhere, guys. long as she has Iger to cover for her transgressions. The King of England is going to lose the crown. King Charles III is going to lose the crown. And he keeps this up. I wish the well, I wish the force be with you always, or whatever you wish to say. There's more things to say, but right now this is where I'm at, just because the harassment has just been, they've upped their harassment. So, should be interesting. So what I expect is to be not bothered anymore. And if I am bothered, because one thing I know McRaven is afraid of is once I become Duke, officially, he's fucked.